Luka Doncic is now teammates with LeBron James out in Los Angeles, but at one point, they were stars on similar trajectories, both leading their teams to the finals as young stars, but ultimately falling short to a superior foe.
It's over. Time to say it again, Boston. Anything's possible.
But today, Luka will have the chance to rewrite history as he'll be living out LeBron's entire career, going from team to team over the years until he eventually teams up with King James in the modern day 2025, who will also be put into some new shoes, living out Luka's career as a member of the Mavericks starting in 2018. But that'll be coming soon, because for now, we'll be going all the way back to 2003, where we kick off Doncic's career with the Cavaliers.
Left side of the floor. Luka's three. It's a win.
And it would be no surprise that his rookie campaign was gonna be electrifying. Coming into the league scorching hot, averaging over 17 points a night to kick off year one, playing out of high school with sky-high hopes of being crowned as the GOAT. And with him expanding his game past only scoring, his case for Rookie of the Year was inarguable, winning the award, but there was a big issue. His team was struggling all year and missed the playoffs. Much like LeBron, there was only so much that Doncic could do with a lackluster group behind him, making things more difficult to live up to the GOAT status. Which, speaking of, brings us to the topic of Luka surpassing LeBron's greatness, which to do so, he'll have 3 goals, to include matching LeBron's point total, having a winning finals record, and getting a three-peat, something LeBron never did. So with such high aspirations, we're gonna skip straight to Luka making some progress, which just so happens to be 2007, the same season that James made his first finals appearance. Because with the way Luka was playing, it was very possible that he could do the same, closing in on averaging a triple-double for the year, and with that, catapulting the Cavaliers to their best record of all time, which happened to be at the perfect timing, because with the East top teams like the aging Nets and the Detroit Pistons both exiting their prime years, the Cavaliers' window to win would be wide open come the playoffs. And with the whole world watching, waiting to see how Luka responds, he would be quick to deliver on the massive expectations, making quick work of the Wizards in round 1. And then we'd see the early stages of a massive rivalry developing before our eyes, with Doncic marching into a matchup with the Celtics, only to eliminate them just as fast as DC, resulting in the Cavaliers celebrating their first trip to the conference finals since 1992, but things were about to get much more difficult, now finding himself face to face against this year's MVP. And he wasn't alone here, joined by all-time great Shaquille O'Neal, who may have been in the back end of his career, but was still a formidable running mate for Wade in the Heat, fresh off a championship the season prior, now giving Big Z a slew of issues down low, eventually getting Miami the 1-0 lead on the road, which puts the pressure on Luka now, looking like he may be blowing yet another season unless he can figure things out fast. However, he was doing just that, coming back not only on his home floor for game 2, but then on the road in Miami, he was firing on all cylinders, using his array of scoring abilities to lead his group past the Heat, now only 1 game away from a trip to a franchise first finals. And after a long fought back and forth game 5, the Cavs had the ball for the last possession with a chance to get that 1 win, and it would be all up to Luka. Luka has a chance for a legacy-defining iconic moment, an opportunity to send Cavs to the NBA Finals for the win, to pull up. Oh, it rims out. Oh, that is devastating. Now with the Heat getting within arm's reach on Cleveland's floor, Luka's miss may have been fatal for the season, because it was beginning to look like Doncic and his Cavaliers were about to fall short yet again, with Miami storming into Game 6, crushing Cleveland, stealing all the momentum in this series, forcing one final Game 7 to determine who wins the entire conference. And with his haters preying on his downfall, this would be the biggest game of his career. But now with a fire lit under him and his back against the wall, he was going to be taking care of business in Game 7, proving the Heat's small run was nothing more than a scare, eventually winning this game in a blowout backed by Luka's career high to silence the doubters. And now there was only one more hurdle, which was shockingly Steve Nash and his Phoenix Suns, also joined by Amari Stoudemire, 2 all-stars who would go ringless in real life, meaning one of these franchises was walking away with their first ever championship and making history. But it was hard to say who, because despite Luka unleashing a scoring fury to start the series off with With 2 wins at home, he was only a one-man army, and it would be difficult to continue outclassing both Nash and Amari. So while Phoenix tying up the series after 4 wasn't so bad on paper, with Cleveland still having home court, things were getting much scarier as the Suns won Game 5 on the road, now going up a strong 3-2. Eventually justifying the fears of fans, with the final shifting back out to the Arizona deserts, and Steve Nash having an MVP caliber game to close this all out, win the NBA Finals after 6 games, ending our star's season short. And despite him averaging a near triple-double for the series, he just didn't have enough to get it done. I guess the one positive is Luka won 2 games while LeBron got swept in 2007. But don't forget, soon enough, LeBron will be in Luka's shoes with a chance to rewrite his own story and also possibly outdo Luka. But in the meantime, Luka was living in the gym during the offseason, clearly on a mission to get over that hump and bring the city of Cleveland their first ever ring, and all the hard work was about to pay off. With a massive bounce-back season following the devastating finals loss, improving on all aspects of his game that had an impact on him crumbling only 2 games shy of a ring, becoming stronger for more offensive opportunities in the post, elevating his game beyond the arc for threes, and everything else in between, all until he would earn his first career MVP. Again, nearly a triple-double, but this time member the 50-40-90 club as he improves his three-point shot. Stellar season for Luka, 1 year quicker on the MVP than LeBron, but there's a little bit of a problem. If you remember, last postseason, we alluded to the Celtics rivalry with Luka, and that was about to pick up a notch this year. Cause in an effort to overcome Luka and win some rings, the Celtics were forming a stacked super team, bringing in Ray Allen to add some much needed space into the court, and they also acquired one of the best bigs in the league, Kevin Garnett. So naturally, we'd see the Celtics waiting in the conference finals, and with Luka by himself, Boston would be heavily favored, and this series would be ending quick. Except that it may not be ending quick for the reason you expected, because it would actually be the league's MVP, putting his team on his back. And in the face of one of history's most stacked rosters, he will pull off possibly the biggest upset ever. But it may have hurt his goals more than it helped.
Kobe is the greatest Laker ever. It's astonishing and amazing.
Like, he's the most prepared guy that I've ever seen.
His quickness and agility and ability to get his jump shot off from anywhere.
This year's finals opponent needed no introduction. Head-to-head with one of the greatest to ever play. And Luka would have aspirations to one day be in the same conversation as Kobe, but today wasn't that day. Luka would average close to 30 a night in this final series, and while we may see it one day, it wouldn't be a passing of the torch moment like he'd hope. In back-to-back years, Luka was falling short at the pinnacle, meaning even though he's made more finals than LeBron so far, his goal for a better record was taking a big hit, and the haters were even louder than ever before.
He's a regular season dynamo, but come postseason time, he's the most overrated, overhyped superstar in my history in this business, seriously.
Although Luka was up for the challenge of proving the doubters wrong, regardless of what it takes, yet again having a major bounce-back season after the finals loss, earning his 2nd consecutive MVP after another huge year, but this time around, the critics were still skeptical.
We know you're great. How about winning? Win for once. Just win. Yeah. Just win, baby. Welcome to the dark side.
But it was true, because so far we've seen Luka continually fall flat, not only losing twice in the finals, but nearly throwing away a season after missing a clutch opportunity. And things weren't improving anytime soon, because on the back end of his Cavs tenure, the Celtics were getting their revenge, crushing him in the playoffs in 2009, only for the following year to be blown out the water by Dwight and his Magic, even after Luka won his 3rd straight MVP, which leaves you wondering if Doncic truly has what it takes to live up to LeBron's legacy. Because as we closed out his Cleveland tenure, he performed well in the regular season, but he really missed the mark with finals losses and total points scored. But on the bright side, major change was coming.
And for him to go on there and drag us through the mud for 7 years and stab us in the heart, I hope he never wins anything in Miami. He is dead to me.
Just like LeBron, Luka was taking his talents to South Beach, forming his own super team with Chris Bosh, and of course star Dwayne Wade, who he has history with. This 3-headed monster of a trio in Miami was the absolute perfect pairing, maybe even more so than with LeBron in real life. Doncic's passing ability was on par with James, leading to great chemistry with his co-stars, and his drastically superior shooting abilities created an even more lethal offense in this reality. Sure, his defense was significantly worse, causing a slump there, but at the end of the day, that didn't seem to matter, because the high-paced offense was buzzing, leading to 67 wins on the year. But most still weren't impressed with Luka being painted as even more of a villain than LeBron was, which is likely due to the fact that Cavs Luka had more finals appearances and MVPs than LeBron, leaving fans even more disappointed. But for Doncic, he had to look out for his own legacy, and who knows, maybe one day he can return to Cleveland to right his wrongs, but in the meantime, he'd be earning his 4th MVP of his career already, putting up by far his best statistical averages yet, and was looking unstoppable heading into the postseason. But don't chalk it up as a win just yet, because the rest of the East had some threats, like his round 1 matchup against the Bucks versus a young and eager Brandon Jennings in Milwaukee, or his potential second round opponent, a rematch against Dwight Howard and his Orlando Magic, or finally, if he makes it to the conference finals, a matchup with Derrick Rose. So with the postseason underway, the first round would be a test of where the Heat's level was at, and they would prove quickly that they were the real deal, sweeping Milwaukee after 4 scrappy games. And then, with an opportunity for revenge against the White, Luka would shut down any doubts whatsoever after his second straight sweep and a look of determination in his eyes. But that was until he was facing the Chicago Bulls and D. Rose. Because after 48 minutes of Rose slash into the paint, dunking and finishing over whatever defenses, we'd have a final score that was nothing to be proud of, which was only followed up by more heroics from Rose in Game 2. On the road again in Miami, with no signs of slowing down, taking a commanding 2-0 lead and stunning the world. Luka's defensive flaws were coming out finally. LeBron took the Rose matchup here in real life, but for Doncic, that would be no easy task, and this season could be finished. Except the first 2 games were only a scare, and after Luka and Wade combined for 80 on the road in Game 3, there was no looking back, taking over the rest of the series and getting back on track of their goals, earning a trip to the first finals of the Heat era. But as he walks on the court here, he was up against a familiar foe once again, one of the greatest of all time. We've seen this battle between these 2 stars before, just a few years ago, but this time was more even, with Luka having some backup now. However, that isn't to say that this would be some walk in the park, because it was anything but that, with both sides trading blows early. One game, Kobe would score at will for a win, only for Luka to follow it up with a little bit of everything, and then Gasol would have a breakout night, only for Wade to counter back as Luka's Robin. All until these finals were completely knotted up after 4, moving this series forward to an absolutely crucial Game 5. More often than not, the team to win the Game 5 of a series goes on to win it, which simply further intensifies the stakes, as this one comes down to the last 2 minutes of a close game, and Luka would finally have an opportunity for redemption. It has been a long time coming since the last time we saw Luka in a close game, dating back to Cavaliers versus the Heat. Now on the Heat, a chance for revenge against Kobe Bryant. D-Wade with the ball, Luka, Steve Blake on him, the tough post fade. He gets to go in. Now it's a 1-point game. With 1:40 left, though, you have no room for mistakes with a player like Kobe Bryant on the Lakers side of the ball. Kobe with it now. D-Wade guarding him. He gets the screen from Bynum. Kobe, a pull-up 3. That's too easy. Oh, wow. They get a break. Now Miami has his opportunity to take the lead here. Luka driving it on Steve Blake. Luka back in the post again. Loses it. Powell with the ball. Steve Blake loses it. Big C the ball. C the dunk. Gives him the lead. What a series of events. 33 for Powell tonight. What a battle between the bigs. Bosh had 20-something. Steve Blake is not Kobe Bryant in these final moments. Luka guarding Steve. Kobe trying to get open. Artest wide open. Bang! Gives him the lead again. The Heat with it now. This is possibly the biggest moment of Luka Doncic's career so far. In the paint again versus Steve. They're going to Big C again, though. His lay ties him up. The unlikely Hero Ilgauskas is there. Kobe Bryant with a D-Wade on him. The Miami Heat desperately need a stop in their home court. Kobe Bryant trying to get open. Wade is all over. Kobe, a really tough lead. How did he make that? Miami isn't going to tap out just yet, though. They used a timeout with half a minute left. There's plenty of time. Miller was wide open. He didn't take it. Artest able to miss it. Nonetheless, though, Luka Doncic with the ball. Steve Blake on him. Chris Bosh the screen. Luka for 3 and the lead. Got it! Luka sinks the shot. Doncic and the Miami Heat are 20.1 seconds away from a 3-2 series lead, 1 win away from Luka's first ever championship. They go down low to Kobe. Kobe Bryant, the post fade, that's way too open. Oh my goodness. 10 seconds left in the game. Do the Heat have enough gas left in the tank to get things done here? Luka with an opportunity to win this one for Miami. Steve Blake guard to him. Luka getting bumpy. The pull-up Jay seals the deal. Luka gets it to go for the win. Miami takes the series 3-2. Following that huge bucket, Luka is only 1 game away from a ring, and nothing was about to stop him now. Walking back on the road to LA in one of the fiercest arenas in basketball, he'd have one of the best games of the season and was finally getting his passing of the torch moment.
The Miami Heat are once again NBA champions.
Finally, Luka Doncic was on top of the NBA world, officially winning his first championship, a year quicker than LeBron even. And this was only the beginning, as Luka was on the verge of dominating the league, because they were finding themselves right back in the finals, up against OKC, and while Kevin Durant and Westbrook are one of the best duos in the league, Luka at this point was undoubtedly the best player in the league, winning the MVP for the 5th time this season and averaging a 30-point triple-double in the finals, which was far more than OKC could keep up with, ending this series early.
It's back-to-back titles for the Heat.
Now not only tying up his all-time finals record and continuing to be ahead of pace of LeBron, but also putting himself in position for a three-peat, which was a very realistic goal, because after earning an unbelievable 6th MVP, his run through the postseason was looking as impressive as ever, eliminating team after team in the East, until he'd have yet another run-in with the Lakers and Kobe Bryant. And while the last 2 meetings' results were climatic and up in the air, this one was anything but that, with Luka and his group winning yet another finals with relative ease, now outdoing LeBron by pulling off the three-peat, while simultaneously now having a winning finals record. I think it's pretty easy to see that Luka has surpassed LeBron in the Miami Heat era, but for Doncic, he's not stopping there. He wanted to close out his last year with the team by ending any possible argument about whether he's the greatest Heat player in franchise history. So for one final run with an aging Wade and Bosch, our star was about to put on a show, starting with the MVP. A 7th MVP. That is just crazy, but possibly not as crazy as the fact that Luka and the Heat had a chance to four-peat back in the finals again. Although it wasn't guaranteed, facing Durant, looking for his revenge, playing the best basketball of his career, and taking the first game of this series, only for Luka to retaliate back twice as hard, and it was only a matter of time before he yet again proved himself to the world, now accomplishing NBA history, firing off for 4 straight wins to complete the four-peat in the perfect 4-year stretch for Luka. 4 MVPs, 4 Finals MVPs, and 4 titles, closing out the Heat era with a noticeable edge over LeBron, on pace to complete his goals by the end of this. But first, he had some unfinished business back in Cleveland. Luka was finally back, and now at the peak of his career, was looking to right his wrongs and bring a ring to the city of Cleveland. Picking up right where he left off in Miami, continuing to average some incredible numbers, but as we all knew would inevitably happen at some point, he would start to slow down slightly, meaning with other very talented up-and-coming players starting to gain recognition in the league, for the first time in years, Luka wouldn't be winning the MVP. But that didn't mean that Cleveland wasn't the favorites to win it all, because he had some new stars backing him up, most notably Kyrie Irving, a very young elite shot creator that rivaled even D Wade's help in his prime, resulting in an even scarier offense than we saw in Miami. And what would follow would be an unbelievable record, but there was still an issue. Out west, LeBron's #1 rival in his career was just heating up into dynasty form. The Golden State Warriors were hot as ever, with star Stephen Curry revolutionizing the game with his shooting, and 8 months later, we'd be in the NBA Finals for the first installment of the Warriors and Cavaliers clashing, as Luka and Steph will likely begin an intense rivalry, with Curry being the first to take a punch in front of his Golden State fans erupting from beyond the arc, and Cleveland had no answer, taking a 1-0 lead early. Although I was at a loss for words at what would happen next. We've come to know that Luka was capable of huge performances, but I had no idea just how valuable he was to a team. Following up Curry's big game with near flawless basketball, and the results would simply speak for themselves. I was not expecting this to happen. Luka wins ring 5, surpasses LeBron, brings a ring to his city. Yeah, he might be the GOAT. And that was about to be put to the true test, with the following season being the Warriors' 73-win year, playing at an even higher level and super eager for a rematch against Doncic, who was continuing to play like a man with no fear of any other team, completely steamrolling through the Eastern Conference with support of K-Love and Kyrie, working their way to the Eastern Conference Championship and preparation for the rematch, which would be night and day compared to the finals in 2015. There was a different level of intensity involved here. Golden State wasn't backing down against the face of the league, who's won the last 5 rings. They believed they were about to be the ones to stop him and had a solid chance of 2-1 after 3. But for the first time in a long time, Luka's teammate was stepping up to the plate to save the day. Kyrie was having probably the best game of his career at the perfect time amidst the possibility of going down 3-1, and instead they knocked things up after 4. So now we find ourselves back in Cleveland for another absolutely critical Game 5 with the series at stake. And if you remember our last crucial Game 5 against the Lakers, Luka was saving the day with a huge performance to push his team ahead. But now it was Steph who would be doing just that, playing incredible all game and finishing things out with the dagger.
8 seconds. The 3 to win the game.
Now giving the Warriors the edge. Only 1 win from finally stunning Luka, and back home in Game 6, with the season at stake, they had the lead late. So for the 100th time now, we'd be seeing how Luka responds to the big moment. The Cavaliers find themselves in a bit of a sticky situation here, down late in Game 6, trailing the series. Season's over if they lose here. They need a big game from Luka, who drives in the paint and gets stuffed at the rim by Andrew Bogut, meets him at the top. Harrison Barnes on the break. They find Draymond Green, draws the foul. Good news is Draymond is liable to miss one. There it is. Frankly, he may even miss both. Look at this guy's form. It rattles off. Luka gets the rebound. That's Kevin Love with the rebound. Luka with it. J.R. Smith, do not sell the Cavaliers. We've seen what you've done in the past. Luka Doncic with the ball, driving on Clay, using his strength. Too strong, blows him out the way. 2 misses in a row. Unbelievable choking by Luka Doncic. Harrison Barnes with it now, driving in on Kevin Love. He jumps at nothing. Oh my, 3-point game. If you're a Cavaliers fan, you have to wonder what is going on here. A minute remaining in the game. Luka way too easy drives in. I will say Cleveland desperately needed that basket from Luka Doncic. If they didn't get that, this could have been over right then and there. Curry with the ball now. Kyrie guarding him. Curry forcing in the paint. His layup's off. Luka gets the rebound. He's off to the races. 3 guys to beat. Luka blown by Harrison Barnes again. Draymond and 1! What a finish over the Draymond Green foul. With his history, you could probably review that for a flagrant, to be honest. It was probably malicious. Stephen Curry with the ball now, though. Down by 2. 50 seconds left. This is not over. To take a timeout. Let's see what the Warriors drew up in that huddle. What did they figure out with 47 seconds left in the game? What did Steve Kerr cook up for this team? A post look to Steph Curry with Kyrie on him. A crowded paint. Andrew Bogut in the clutch. No way that's what they drew up. Cleveland with the ball now. Luka with an opportunity for the dagger. He forces his way in. He will not take no for an answer. You're 1 stop away from forcing a Game 7 here. Steph Curry with the ball. 30 seconds left in this game. They use another timeout. If you're the Cavaliers, you do anything but let them get a 3 here. A 3 here means they can play the free throw game. They can get it tied up with another 3. And with their firepower they have, that is dangerous. Steph driving it in. Somehow gets right by Kyrie really quickly. Of course, they're playing the foul game. Kyrie's at the line. Kyrie misses the second. No timeouts left for Golden State. Down by 3. They have an opportunity to tie the game and force overtime. Harrison Barnes has it. Curry, Kevin Love on him. How did this happen? He takes a 2. That's a mistake. You just have to get this ball inbounded. Frankly, I thought there was less time on the clock. Maybe the 2 wasn't so bad. If Kai misses another one, you can win the game with a 3. Irving sunk the first one, up by 2. The biggest free throw probably of his career at this very moment. Still no timeouts for the Warriors. So either way, right after this free throw, they have to get the ball up the court quickly. Down by 3, 7 seconds left. The final moments of Game 6 of the NBA Finals. Steph Curry with it. It goes to Draymond. This is who you want shooting it. It's off. The Cavaliers survive. They're headed to Game 7. Unfortunately, though, this Game 7 was going to be out of reach of the Cavaliers from the very start of the game. The Warriors were flipping the script of real life, now winning the Game 7 in this reality to come out on top, meaning for the first time in 6 years. Luka was finally losing, but you couldn't even blame him. Can't really blame Luka for this one. He did all he could. and unfortunately things are about to get even worse, because Kevin Durant was making the decision to join the Warriors, also looking to win some rings like Steph, and with this new Golden State super team, the Cavaliers are going to be getting smoked the next 2 finals in a row, just like LeBron did in his own reality, abruptly leading us to the end of Luka's second Cleveland stint, only making small progress on his goals and starting a fresh final era in our story, which of course will be the start of Luka rocking the purple and gold, moving his talents out to the Lakers. And with him already having more rings than LeBron, he doesn't have much left to prove here to match James' legacy, but with him only 1 ring behind Jordan, that could be all the motivation he needs. Although we weren't seeing that possibility yet, with Doncic surrounded by young raw talent, unable to make the playoffs in his first year in LA. But this season isn't over yet, because it's finally time for LeBron's debut. Being selected in the draft and sent straight over to Dallas, he was instantly drawing the love and hype from fans around the world. Rightfully so too, because he was putting up some huge numbers in only year 1, which would easily give him Rookie of the Year just like Luka, which speaking of, LeBron would have his own set of goals as well, to surpass Luka's time in Dallas, and his was simple enough, just earn an MVP and win a championship. But we'll talk about that soon, because for now, Dallas is missing the playoffs too, and we need to shift back to LA. Which is because after a failed season, LA was desperate to get Luka some help, trading away their young stars for an established Anthony Davis, and he was the perfect pairing with our superstar. You may think that with Doncic being 35, his team was doomed, but that wasn't the case. Pairing with AD in the pick and roll made the game so much easier for Luka that his numbers look like stats from 6 years ago. So it goes without saying that this team will be far better, now making the playoffs. And with LA rounded out with quality role players all around, Luka was having relative ease in his postseason run, just like LeBron did this year in real life, without much changing in this reality except for his finals opponent, which would be yet another run-in with the Boston Celtics. And as we know, over the years, Luka has had several run-ins with them. And with this year's rendition being backed by a young Jason Tatum, the results here would be familiar to most of the previous ones, because backed by the veteran experience of Doncic combined with a roster loaded with other experienced vets and young athletic talent, and you'd have a formula for success against the young Celtics. We may be seeing more of them in the near future, but for now they weren't ready yet for this moment. Luka looked like he still had some gas left in the tank, putting up a finals MVP worthy performance in the series, and he was about to be matching MJ, winning yet another championship, raising his total to 6, while also cracking a positive finals record all time, making great progress on LeBron, who, speaking of, we have yet to talk about. However, it was for good reason, because the 2020 season, while we did see an improvement, particularly his points per night making a leap, his team was still far from making any noise. But don't worry, help was coming very, very soon and will be our new focus of this sim, because there wasn't much more to talk about with the Lakers. Following their 2020 championship, dispersing most of their supporting cast, and they'd struggle to find much more success, just like they have in real life. Age was catching up to Luka much quicker than it has to LeBron, and him slowing down was getting noticeable. So there wouldn't be any more rings for him, locking it in at 6, and the only thing worth mentioning was that he did still break Kareem's scoring record, albeit a couple seasons after LeBron did. Meaning now, as we close out Luka's career, he accomplished all 3 goals and definitely outperformed James. But now, LeBron has a chance to do the same. The only problem being that it would be an extreme uphill battle, because even with the front office bringing in some help like Brunson and Porzingis, there was just too much talent in the West for the young LeBron to get past early in his career, steadily improving his numbers every year, only to fail at some point in the playoffs. All until 2023, something was different. James was looking better in every way, more explosive, better at creating shots, finishing better than ever before, and he would get the recognition he deserves. A LeBron James MVP, 33, almost 34 points a night, nearly averaging a triple-double. LeBron is doing just fine in Dallas. And even though he lost in the conference finals, it was clear he was close to making that final step, appearing in the 2024 NBA Finals up against Tatum and the Celtics, the very team that Luka lost to this year. But this was LeBron we were talking about, the most dominant player to ever touch a basketball, and at 24 years old, it was obvious that the league was his for the taking moving forward. The torch has been passed again, and our next great legacy was beginning. The finals was a complete flip of real life, and LeBron James was becoming an NBA champion, meaning he, in fact, accomplished both his goals to surpass Luka, and you'll have to be the judge of who was more impressive. But what if LeBron and Durant swapped careers instead? Find out by clicking this video next.